welcome to episode 44 of Marketing Corner. We're back with Leah from ProducTea. I was trying to come up with some kind of clever thing, but I got nervous.
That's okay.
How you been since we last spoke?
It feels like it's been minutes. Been minutes. It's
How's life? Yeah, anything new?
No, in between the episodes, actually nothing happened. No, I'm doing actually great. Thank you. Yeah.
That's lovely. Cool. Well, we wanted to, so we talked to you in the last episode about product-led growth and got a lot of wonderful insights, but now we want to talk a little bit more about you and how you became such a boss bitch, and such a kind of...
We're going all in on this one.
We're going all in on this. I'm reclaiming boss bitch.
Yeah, I love it. Big fan.
Yeah, first time I was called a bitch on a podcast, but I'll take it. From you, I take it. That's fine.
It's in a good way. But yeah, I mean, you talk sometimes about, I listened to the podcast where you talked about how did I get here, right? And so I'd love for you to talk to our listeners who would probably strive to be at 17,000 followers and everything else that you managed to build and the content that you churn out with like superhuman speed. How do you do it? How can we do it? And anything in between.
It's super simple. First of all, 18,000. Thank you very much. And,
excuse me. I wrote this like a week ago, so
yeah, exactly. Every week you delay this, it's another 1,000. That's been my average growth in this year. Yeah, that's just what it
awesome.
Is. That's it. Yeah.
No, can you give us a little hair flip? Give us a little hair flip.
I don't have that much hair. Yeah. So is your question how to do this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well,
how do you get 1,000 followers a week?
Well, you have to get above 10,000 first, because before that it sucks.
Okay.
No, so here's how to do it. So I know this guy that you pay. No, so I started in August.
You buy a bunch.
Well,
we all know that.
You buy a lot of fake followers. Unironically, if you go to Google and you say like, how can I buy followers? You can buy a lot of followers for very little money. That's going to be the end of your career on LinkedIn, though, if you do that. So I highly advise not to do that. Not because you're getting banned, but just because you have a lot of followers afterwards that don't do anything. And that essentially just kills all of your reach. So let's say followers that mean something, right? So like people that follow you because they actually like your stuff and not because they like my credit card. I started with 500 followers, which were mixed all across my positions that I have occupied in my professional life.
How long ago was this? Sorry.
That was in August last year. So
crazy.
7 months.
You had 500 followers last year?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, they were nice. So
okay.
500 followers in I think in August. Yeah, so I started in August. And then usually the way that I do it is that I commit to a very specific time frame, and I knew I'm going to do this for like 3 to 4 months. I will post twice a day, and I will learn along the way. And you read a lot of tactical tips on how to write good hooks and how to do this, and then you should not edit, and then you should do this, and then gauge your content or don't whatever. Like the main problem that I have to admit was for me to push through the imposter syndrome, just in like, do I have something to say? Because ultimately, I guess the idea was not to blow up the way that I did now. It's just more like I want to hire good product managers. This was a very specific problem that I had back then. And I knew that, or like I assumed that people want to work with other faces, right? Instead of just like names and brands and stuff. So even if you talk to, I want to work with Apple or whatever, 20, 30 years ago, people wanted to work with Steve Jobs or whatever the faces that you want to work with, right? But like you want to work with people because you also want to be growing with them, and you want to be kind of just close. And it's not about a celebrity or whatever. It's just more about, I guess our jobs have changed in the last 2 years, right? We have also choice, and the markets are much more transparent. So that's why I wanted to do it originally. And then it kind of started. I sucked. It was bad. Deleted a lot of these posts. Some of them I wrote in an agony and like for 5 to 10 hours, and then I deleted them without any trace anymore, just because I was so insecure. And it's a cruel thing, because I started to realize at some point that when people say, oh, you just have to be consistent, that's true. It's very important. But there are a couple of things that you need to get right before you can be consistent. And I think nobody talks about them. And one of those is this imposter syndrome is everywhere. It's not that you are special with that. Everybody has that. Everybody who says they don't is full of shit. They're lying to your face. And
we're nodding.
And I'm saying this as a
podcast people who were nodding.
And I'm saying this as a senior leader, right? Like, I grew up in companies where you had, no offense to people who wear ties, right? But like the dinosaurs running around in their gray suits with ties, and you know, everybody looks the same and whatever. Like, these people were always pretending that competency is coming from pretending that you just have your shit together. And that's just not true. It's just not true. That was the first thing, because what that does is it gives you a wrong expectation of what you should deliver. So the standards are already too high for most people, right? They think that they have to deliver the perfect thing. And then the other thing is that they completely underestimate how good that they are themselves. You have to trust in yourself, and you have to understand that things that seem normal for you are incredibly valuable for others and not just any more basic. And I can take a really stupid example. If I speak to someone in Spain in English, in the way that I talk right now, and they've never spoken English, for them, this is like, oh my God, you know, like, where did you learn this and everything? It's like, skill is about perspective, first of all. And you're not writing for people who already are on your level. You write for those that are behind you. And the final point for this, and this is quite important to get right before, so otherwise you cannot do any of it, is that you need to stop thinking that your colleagues care what you write about, or that your boss is constantly hovering on LinkedIn and is checking what you do. Some of them might do. Don't want to be, you know, like, it's might be possible. I've never had any negative backlash from any of it, of what I did in the first place. But you cannot write for this one person that never is really there, right? Like, you're not writing for them. That's very, very important to understand. And all of this together is creating this huge imposter syndrome that makes you think, well, I need to get a little bit better, and then I start. Problem is, whenever you get a little bit better, you also move on with your company and with your career, and then you have a new boogeyman that is kind of like, oh, maybe I also need to conquer this before I can start to post. That is the big problem. And then the second problem is, if you talk about LinkedIn, for instance, or Twitter, you only see the posts from others that are successful. That's just how it works.
Yep.
If you start to write 100 posts, I can guarantee you the first 40 to 50 will suck hard. So your own feed will not mirror what you see from others, but they have exactly the same problem, right? So like, we all went through this, and this is totally normal. So having said that, let's say you get this under control and you somewhat agree that you can push through your own imposter syndrome. And I did. I was shit scared. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to post twice. I don't care if it costs me everything, right? This is like, you know, like this huge insecurity to go through and everything. And what helped me a great deal on the way is that I stopped trying to combat the imposter syndrome, but try to find something that is stronger than it, you know, like to push through. It's kind of okay to keep myself in check. I still have my insecurities. But I started to find other people who are ahead of me in the journey, and that started to also be very, very open, you know, like, so I relate highly to other women that are more successful in this industry, or that I perceived as being much more an expert in very specific areas. And if they talk about their vulnerabilities, I also started to notice, oh shit, you know what? I should also do this for others. So that's how I met Elena Verna, and her and me are talking a lot about this, right? And we're talking very openly about this, while at the same time still standing there and saying, like, look, we're not pushovers. It's not what this is about. We have an imposter syndrome. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be vulnerable, but we are talking about it. And this did not mean that our inbound just completely collapsed, right? It's not that someone came to us and then said, like, well, we would have given you this company account, but you were a little bit too vulnerable last week. It's just, it sounds silly if you think about it, Because it is, but in our minds, this is how it works. And the second thing, and this is the most important thing that you need to get really right, is that passion beats talent any day. Any day. Do not start with this if you do not enjoy it. And I don't mean like, posting on LinkedIn. I mean what you write about. This is not about just generating followers. This is about, you need to talk about this stuff for the next couple of months and years and whatever.
Needs to be authentic.
You have to enjoy this, and because you will run out of ideas, and then what you have to do is you have to learn new stuff, which is great, right? It also pushes you, but then why would you want to learn something that you don't enjoy? There's just so much content that you can copy from others. It just does not work. So getting these two right is the most crucial thing before you can think about, you should not post at this time of the day, or in Eastern Europe, you should not use these words or whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, it just does not work without it. And I can guarantee you, this is the place where most people fail. Because they write about something that they don't enjoy, and they don't trust themselves to be good enough. But I guarantee you, every person that I had in my mentor calls, all of them, they were good enough, but they didn't believe it. And if I cannot convince people, then you know how big the imposter syndrome is. It's just, like we need to talk about it more. And that's why I also talk about it right now.
I've met quite a few good people in my time, right? Like just like you probably have, and Jen also have, and it's always baffled me. Like when I haven't really exploded like you have, Leah, but I have 7,500 followers or something, and it's taken me quite some time. I started in 17, slowly building from nothing as well, right? So it's also good followers, which is also a metric I'm really glad you brought up. But one of the things I've mentored a few people, and some of these people are like brilliant minds, and the worst fear is always, what are people going to think about me? Like, and especially the thing you brought up here in the beginning is like, hey, but everyone knows this. And I'm like, no, they don't. Like, they really don't. They really, really don't. And one thing I've found is that, like, whenever you share things, like, even so, I had people come up to me and question, like, hey Casper, why are you sharing your best hacks, your best details? Why are you sharing why to do this? It's like, even though I shared it, people are still not gonna do it. Like, they're not gonna sit down and actually do it. Like, yes, 1 in a million is gonna do it. Great for that guy, awesome. But the other people. The other one's just gonna see, okay, he really knows his shit within this space, right? So I totally, like, I've had one backlash thing, and it's actually a funny story. Just if you can share it, it's I posted a joke about Pornhub, because I was like, I did an ad on Pornhub just to get, I got clicks, got like 5,000 plus visitors for no money, and I was like, yeah, I got 5,000 clicks, what's up, and it was like a joke on vanity metrics because it's from Pornhub, like, it's not really worth anything. And then one of the guys, like this old sales guy in this company, was like, hey, we can't talk about porn on LinkedIn. I was like, who cares? Like, who cares? I can do whatever I want.
I call this the corporate LinkedIn police. That one is still, in fact, it happens, but like, get over it. If it happens, just like, okay, whatever, just go on, right?
Chalk on.
It's fine. Yeah.
No, definitely.
I would actually say, if we talk about backlash, one thing that came up from LinkedIn, Casper and I were talking, I think we were talking about something on LinkedIn, and someone posted, but you guys have always had these followings and you've always been confident. And I was like, bitch, no, not at all. Like, even right now, as I post this, I wrote it 5 different times in 6 different ways, and, deleted and edited, and like, oh, is this going to be like, no, we might come off as confident people, but everyone has that voice. I think that's really powerful to tell people, like, we're not these mystical beings who were just born super confident. I mean, I am a Leo, so I don't know if you believe that shit, but we weren't born super. You don't, yeah. So but I think that's really important that we keep showing people, like, we all have that voice in our head going, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
No, but for real, I think this is also. It's maybe a little bit off topic, but it is important that you give people role models, right? And especially for younger women as well. It's just, if you do not see something that you can recognize that you want to be with, or like that you want to be, it's getting just less likely that you're going to aspire to this in the future. It's like, if all you see is a very specific, type, and you cannot recognize yourself in those, then it's just not going to happen. And that's why this was so important to see these outliers, right? And I'm now also one of these outliers, of course, but I was not the first one, right? I was not the first one. So this was infinitely harder for Elena, for instance, as well, like to push through all of this garbage, because you have to understand as well, like in the public discourse, it's one thing to say like, oh, you know, like everybody's accepted and everything is happy, right? And we have no problem with this in this group. You will notice that gaining followers is harder as if you're not part of a specific group. These numbers do not lie, right? They just do not lie. It gets harder. You don't know about all the stuff that does not happen because it doesn't happen. The calls that you're not getting, the CVs that are not being looked at because of your name, or because, I don't know, they don't like the face that you have. This is a reality, right? And we all have our preconceived notions. And that's why it's important that we have this diversity to aspire to. Because if you don't see a successful woman doing this and being confident at the same time and saying like, hey, you don't have to change yourself. You can be vulnerable at the same time and being a boss bitch, if you want to use this word.
Please do.
Yeah, then here's one person that does it, and that's okay, right? You don't have to be me, but I can show you that it is possible. And we don't have to be assholes to each other because of it, right? I don't know. That's what I wanted to say.
That's a great point. Did you have like when you started out doing this, the one thing is you said you like had this like plan, I'm going to do this for 3 to 4 months and stuff. Did you have like a long-term vision, like for what you wanted to use it for? Like, let's say if you knew you like, one thing was hiring these product managers, as you explained, but maybe it was like, because like I think like just personally, like I've always had like a vision of saying I want to build an asset, I want to build a brand, because I know, you know, I might change companies, but you know, I'm still going to be here. So I might be working at different companies, and eventually I'll use it for something. And now I made my own agency and I use it a lot, right? But did you have the same vision? Like, do you have like there are 17,000 now? Like, do you want to go to 50? When do you stop? What is this? Where are you going next? That's kind of my question, I think.
I had 18,000. I'm going to repeat it again. 18,000.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
But like seriously, the thing with reach that you build out in this way, and we're talking about LinkedIn reach, right? Because it's very, very specific. Thank you for changing this, Jennifer. I just saw. She just changed it in the show notes. The reach that you get from LinkedIn is special because it's not just followers that you can use for anything, as you said, right? So like if I start to talk about Pornhub or something else, you know, like I'm just turning it around now, it does not perform. Nothing performs. Because the way that LinkedIn is delivered to your audience is that the more people engage with your stuff, the more it is being shown to others. So it's not just like, oh, I just get 18,000 impressions all the time. That's not how it works at all. So the reach that I built up, I better use for something in product that I'm passionate about. And I cannot tell you how I'm going to use it in the future for sure. But I do know that it is a huge asset as long as I'm going to stay in this industry. Certain topics will never change. Like, you know, IC leadership or growth teams will probably be called something else in the future. I don't know, Terminator teams or whatever. But in the end, it is about realizing that this is something powerful, because specifically what happens right now with AI and machine learning, as I already said in another episode that we recorded a couple of whenever ago, it's becoming easier and easier and easier to create some products and get the messaging right, but it's becoming harder and harder and harder to generate trust. We do not search anymore for a product-led growth expert on Google and then just take one person. That does not happen. You want to go to someone that you trust 100%. And how do you trust me? Because of a message that I had, or because of like one guide that I wrote? No, because I wrote consistently over a year or two in this particular space, and I have the logos to show for it. Now, I'm not saying that logos showing is a good thing. It's a sickness that we have in our industry as well. But you want to have some form of trust. It's not about the features on the package anymore. It is about, okay, she knows what she's talking about. She has the experience, and other people also trust her. Otherwise, she would not have this following. And that's the kind of point, right? So to answer your question, no, I don't know what I'm going to do with it in the ultimate sense. But I know that I'm not going to stop. It's you reach one hill and then you go for the next one, then you go for the next one. So
yeah. once
whatever
you're
it is.
started, it's kind of hard to get off that, right? It's almost like a drug. It's almost. I've never tried hardcore drugs. Just to
I
point
was
that
gonna
out to
say, tell us
listeners,
more,
but
Casper.
it is almost. It must be like a hardcore drug. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
No, but I love your point about the logos, because like I personally felt that was such a thing. Like I used to my first real career stint was as a student in Trustpilot, and Trustpilot was like especially in Denmark known as like one of the unicorns, like the one that really made a huge splash. I was a fucking student, like I didn't know anything. Like that was me learning marketing, but the fact that I was there like now just solidifies who I am today. Like, because it didn't like, yes, I learned a lot and I learned a lot back then, but just having the logo and being able, I used to work at Trustpilot. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know anything. I didn't do anything, but like I was there. Like, and so it just makes, then of course I learned a lot along the way in the other companies, but the logo wall is, I feel like it only matters if you have something to back it up. If you can't back it up, like, because there's a lot of people who worked at Google and Facebook and whatever, and for them, like, and when I see that and they don't have anything to share, like they don't share anything, I'm like, okay, it's an empty shell. No hard feelings. But here, when you have something to say and then you back it up, then suddenly like it comes like a value add. It's like some sort of thing you add on top that doesn't have any value if there's nothing below it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, think about it in this way. In the past, what we did to kind of exert competence was clothing, right? It's like certain kind of types of people just dressed a specific way. That's like, okay, he looks like a businessman. They must be an important person. And then what we started to do is we started to invent titles. Doctors, this stuff, that stuff. Then we had academia. So we tried to outsource the trust into kind of a service on academia where we said titles and certifications matter. And then at the same time, we also had job titles, like CPO, the C levels. It's all great. Like everybody's a CPO right now at the moment on LinkedIn. Now that all doesn't work anymore. Why? Because we started to have bullshit universities and bullshit others. And then also the universities itself, they're not really doing anymore what the market really needs. I don't hire any more PMs because of their certificates. That never happens. Never. Not because of their titles and not because of the way that they dress. What I care about is whether they have outcomes in their CV that they can explain to me in the interview, and then also like them, and I can think I can learn something from that person. And that's a very hard thing to do because you need to show it all the time, right? So like logos, titles, how we dress was always a crutch to kind of show trust, because at the time when these signals were important, the people who didn't have it couldn't do it. Right? So like the poor people could not afford to look dapper and with a suit. But nowadays everybody can. And now you have the inverse, right? So like everybody looks like a clochard like me, like a hobo. That's what it is. That's the kind of new senior leader look. It's just the more successful you look, the less you look like you showered in the last two weeks.
The PLG look.
The PLG.
That's not true, by the way. I do shower occasionally.
Occasionally. That's awesome. I have a maybe more practical question. Do you use tools, or do you literally like legit go to LinkedIn and make sure you post at specific times?
No, I don't use any. You mean buffer tools?
Yeah,
I don't.
To kind of schedule things. You don't write a bunch in advance and.
No, I just don't. I mean, I have a very structured day because I'm an ADHD boss bitch.
It's a new title we're working on.
I'm very chaotic and I have dyslexia on top of it as well. So it's very difficult for me to kind of, produce a lot of stuff in advance. And then just as soon as I produce something, I don't have any impulse control, right? Like I need to push it fast. I need to see what's happening, right? Like instant gratification now. And I don't use that at all. I know a lot of people who do, and they also need content plans and everything. I try always to go by feeling. What I do is I invest every day 1 hour in the morning, for sure. That is my learning and get ready time. So like maybe even 1.5 hours, like where I get ready, I listen to stuff. I also write some stuff. When you record a podcast like this one, you can also cut it up into several different pieces and then, like kind of spread it around. You become more effective as you go on. But it is a lot of work. But to those people who ask me, how do you get this done next to your job? I always say, would you ask a mom how she can take care of her baby while she has a full-time job? Because that is more work than this. I can guarantee you. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong.
Oh.
But, you know, having
We do
kids
get
is
asked that,
also...
by the way.
So much.
As a working mom, we do get asked that.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
And a
that's
working
mom
dad.
question.
You're a working dad. But
It's
yeah.
a lot of work,
Yeah.
but nobody is questioning your judgment to the main job because of this, right?
Correct.
So
No.
this is why I'm saying, like, it is a lot of... I don't have friends. I don't have kids. So I'm doing this.
You got cats,
It's fine.
though.
I have cats, yeah.
I've always found like the people that ask that question, and this is nothing against those people necessarily, but the people who ask the question, the people who are worried about the impact it has on your company, is because they don't understand the impact it has on a company. Like, I remember once I had a leader, it was a Templify, who when I started really posting, and he was like, yeah, go do it. And then he understood it. Under people around me, like, I don't like, you're spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. Yeah. But this is really good for the company I work at as well. Let's be really clear about that. Like, because everyone is going to see, like take you, Leah, whenever you're associated with a company, they're going to be like, God damn, they have
There's
an
your
expert
kid.
on product-led growth now. Holy moly, man.
Well,
So the
yeah.
value of working for that company just increases dramatically. And that's because of the stuff you do. So everything becomes easier. Like employer branding, just like, hey, I have this one person we just deploy now, right? So,
Yeah, I'm
so the
generating a
people
lot of
who ask
leads.
that question is because they don't see
Yeah.
the whole picture yet, at least in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but to be fair, it would be not fair to say that only people who have my reach are kind of valuable on social media in this regard. So I also want to make the case, it's not just because of the reach that I have, for you, sure. Like what you said is completely true. But by writing and investing stuff into what you've actually learned, you also solidify the learning, and you also learn from others afterwards, backwards. Like I learned so much stuff, right? I got to know Jen because of all of this kind of stuff that's happening. I got to know Laura from Dream Data, which is completely different topic, right? So like revenue attribution, and then she recommended me to Jen and everything. All these valuable connections of people that mean a lot to me in my network is useful, right? If I have a problem in my senior leadership position at Jua, which is at the moment my full-time role, then I can ask people, right? So like, hey, if something ever comes up in my career, and I don't know whether it ever comes up, but if something comes up in regards to what you are dealing with at Onamondo, you know exactly who I'm gonna who I'm gonna reach out, even if it's just like tangentially somewhere. Why? Because I know that I could trust Jen, and that's the thing again, right? It's about trust. The network that you have is not just the followers, but also like the connections to all of these people, and they're not necessarily the people with 10,000, 20,000 followers. It's just that, hey, I have this one contact over there, and I put my hand in the fire for her because I already know how she ticks. And that's more worth than the logos and all the other garbage, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the authenticity, right? That's the thing that, and you talked earlier, you know, about AI and you know, that there's something missing, right? You could tell almost when something's written by AI, there's something missing. And it's the same with LinkedIn. You can buy a LemPod and you can get all these people to be like, great post, Jen. But you know, when Leah when you comment on my post, I know you've read it, you know, or like, you know, for the most part, I guess. But, you know, it's like having that value that,
I'll say this. There will be a time where you can train a machine learning model to speak like me, to talk like me, to probably put out the content that I put out like me. The difference is I set up my retainers. If somebody works with me in a way that they can cancel after 7 days, whenever they want, I can fool all kinds of people into my funnel. But if I cannot deliver impact in their companies through the advising that I do, right, which is product-led growth, here's what I do, right? So here's the knowledge that I have. You can copy this. Okay, go ahead, sure. But if you cannot implement it, right? So like I'm putting myself all the way to the back, like the sales funnel comes so far to the back. You're not committing with me in consulting to, oh, we're going to spend $100,000 and then we see what she can do. No. The document that you sign with me is you can cancel in 7 days. I can cancel in 7 days if I don't want to work with you, but you just pay me by the hour. And that's what it is, right? So like I de-risk the customer. It's exactly product-led growth again, because the moment I do not perform anymore, I'm gone. There's no incentive for me to trick anyone. And that's what product-led growth is. I put the product forward because I trust you that once we get started, you are kind of convinced that it does something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So you're the product in that.
I am the product. It's product.
You're the product.
It's product Leah growth or Leah led product. Wait, Leah led growth.
Product Leah growth.
That's
the L. So you talked a little bit about, we're getting close to time, sorry, but I really want to know something that excites you and something that worries you in terms of trends.
That is a great question. So one of the things that I could not really figure out at the moment in this industry, but I know that I will have an answer, will be part of the answer as well, which excites me a lot because I always put out new things that I'm scared of, is how do we bring sales into this entire mix? Because marketing is kind of at a point where they are kind of getting on board with product-led growth. It makes sense. Product as well, right? Like everybody works closer together, but we still have these old incentivization structures with sales, and everything is still very much, it's just close, fast, like engage, and so forth. And I don't know yet how to build an organization that really mirrors that. We're not there yet at all. But I think that the next thing that's going to happen is definitely product-led sales, but it will be something that is channel independent. What that means is that we should be in the position to know if a valuable customer, either because they're running client or in the future they could be valuable in whatever, is sending some signals into different silos. So whether it's marketing, sales, customer success, or whatever, depending on where they are, where we can react. So for instance, if a customer is going to the account cancellation page, it matters who it is. And it matters why they did it. Did they do it right after a downtime? Did they do it to fill in personal information? Did they do it because they want to actually cancel the account? And this is a 200,000 ACV. The context matters. It's not anymore about the visit on the account page where you want to cancel the account. It's about the context. And I think there's a lot of potential that we have not discovered yet in this area. And I don't know which kind of team it will do. I think it's going to be product sales management. So you heard it here first. I just don't know yet how to structure it, but we will see. We will see how this goes. So this is more like on the excitement thing. On the other side, because of the area that I work in, and so like weather predictions and data around climate change in some way, I hope that we can actually turn this for the better. So machine learning is extremely strong in predicting the weather and giving you a little bit more of control. But, it's just one side of the equation. I'm a little bit worried about the world as a whole, because we tend to be really fucking slow in addressing the issues that really matter. And if you work in this kind of industry, you also see firsthand kind of how bad it is, like how extreme weather has become and how people are kind of displaced and what it does, all the way down to the level of providing food in areas that are not so rich and that cannot afford it. So I would say that's my hippie answer for what worries me.
On that note, no, those are really good points. On that happy note, I think that's really interesting, and the bringing sales into the equation is super important, because, again, not to go over too much over time, but they are going to probably be most reluctant to a product-led growth if they see it that's the end of sales, right? And like you said in the previous episode, that's not what that is. So we need to bring them into the fold, and we need to figure out how we're going to do this together. Because, again, as you've said before, it's not stopping, it's not going anywhere. So you gotta, get involved. Yeah. Casper, any final thoughts?
No, I think it's been absolutely amazing having you on, Leah. Like it's been super cool. Like I learned a lot. Like I'm still my next goal is to get to above the 10,000. Everything apparently gets easier after that. So no, maybe not. Okay, cool. I'll get there.
The demons are getting bigger.
But it's been really super cool. Like I love to see practitioners like you actually promoting product-led growth. It's been, it's I also believe it's the future, and I think we're just at the beginning here. But one thing I wanted to ask you about is more about like when it comes to sales teams. So one thing I've found, and I read this really interesting post on LinkedIn the other day, is that we've gotten all these tools for salespeople, like all these tools like Gong and Zoom Info, and like all these tools, and for some reason, like it doesn't feel like sales is more efficient than it was like just 5 years ago, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's increasing in efficiency. We're suddenly spending more time in tools than we are actually like doing closing deals. I think maybe the solution is somewhere in there. Like I think it's somewhere it's like finding a way to get sales closer to the product, but away from spending time on tools. And I don't know, this is just something I thought when you like a stray thought right now, but I don't know if that resonates at all.
Yeah, I can tell you the solution. In another episode that I recorded with you, I said that the solution is in the goals, right? So we need to incentivize sales on
Casper,
customer
can you
success.
listen back to the previous episode?
Sorry.
It's a long time ago when we recorded it, but
It was.
it's just general. If you incentivize sales on customer success and not revenue size, which is a difficult thing, it's easy to say but hard to do, the solution is in there. And it's called product-led sales, and it's going to come. So you can either adapt or you can go home. This is what it is.
I love that. That's the
Another
note.
mic drop
That's the
moment
bombshell.
from Leah.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's the one.
Boom.
Yeah, boom.
Love it. And that is why you are first Boss Bitch interview, Boss Bitch 101. That was awesome. Thank you so much. And I think it's safe to say for a lot of us out there, you are our LinkedIn role model. So keep it up. And I'm going to catch up to you with my followers and my content.
We'll get there.
I'm going to get there.
I hold you both accountable for it. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And look forward to seeing you on the socials.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.